In today's Leeds news, Radrizzani 49ers Sampdoria update, Cody Drameh open to staying, Brendan Aronson release clause, Big Sam's Leeds future, Rasmus Christensen may stay, Dan James expected to return, and Leeds interested in Bright Osayi Samuel. Morning, folks. Cher here, Tuesday, the 30th of May, and there's an absolute ton of stuff coming in today. And we'll try and get through it as quick as we can. I won't keep you. Just a real quick one, my one a week. If you like the channel, if you want to support it, you can do so by subscribing. I think we're like 50 off 11,000. So if you do like the channel, if you're watching it, you're not subscribing, you want it, there you go. That's how you can help support the channel. Right, let's move on. Let's get on with this. We'll start off with the news. I'm going to look down quite a lot today because I have about 5 or 6 pages of notes from stories this morning. There's a huge amount going around and I want to make sure I get all the detail right. So we'll start off with this, and we'll start off with the Radrizzani, Sampdoria and Leeds latest. And Sampdoria's bid for survival is kind of hinging on Radrizzani and Manfredi's takeover, as is Leeds' future under the 49ers. What Gianluca Di Marzio is saying as of yesterday is Radrizzani's latest offer of in and around £69 million for Sampdoria has been rejected by the existing owner of the club. The actions of the current owner are said to be jeopardizing the entire future of Sampdoria's existence by rejecting this. The shareholders' meeting yesterday was held where the bid was rejected, and there were protests outside of it against the existing owner, who is blamed for putting the club in the situation they're in now, with debts, money owed to shareholders, players, and now looking at potentially a points deduction. There is a meeting scheduled today, again at 12:30, as I've said, to try and trash this out and see if they can get a deal done today. Radrizzani is still hopeful of that. The existing Sampdoria owners' position on this has been described as holding the club to ransom to try and get more money. The club is valued at around 35 million euro. Radrizzani's latest bid is over 69 million, with a 50% payoff to people who are owed money by the club, players' wages paid in full, and financing of the club, and seen as a better deal. The Daily Mail is now reporting also that the 49ers deal will be done within the next fortnight. We heard some of that from yesterday from Talksport as well. It's now been verified by a second source. They're saying it'll be done in the next fortnight, and the club is valued at 150 million now, and officials are expected to try and put new proposals in place this week in order to try and trash out something to be done before the June 14th time frame for the new transfer window opening. They also say, Phil Hayes said this, the 49ers will only take over Leeds United if Radrizzani leaves the club. And it's also reported that a fee of in and around £170 million may be the fee that is likely to secure Leeds. Remember, Radrizzani bought Leeds for in and around £45 million 5 years ago. It's now valued at 170 million, so he's still making a tidy profit and more than enough money to pay for the Sampdoria takeover as well. As I said, there's an investment meeting this morning, investors meeting this morning, shareholders meeting this morning with Sampdoria. 49ers had their own investment call last Thursday, and reports from that are stating that they are still very determined to buy Leeds United in full. So there's a lot going to happen on this. I will try and keep people updated on this. If it gets boring or monotonous that we're talking about this every day, I apologize for that, but it is a situation that's going to change every day, and there are people who are interested to see where we go with this. So there's that one. That's a long one to get out of the way, but we'll get that one out of the way first. So we'll move on now, and we'll talk about Cody Drameh. And according to the Yorkshire Evening Post, Cody Drameh is open to staying at Leeds United despite securing promotion to the Premier League with Luton Town. This is also on the back of interest in Drameh from Luton on a permanent move, and Burnley, newly promoted as well, in signing the player. Cody Drameh has 12 months left on his existing Leeds United contract, and it is said that Leeds have given the player assurances about his future and position in the club moving into the Championship. However, Sky Sports, on the other hand, are reporting that the opposite is happening, and they are saying that Cody Drameh wants to leave Leeds and is expected to move to either Luton or Burnley with some interest in Europe. I'm likely to believe the Yorkshire Evening Post over Sky Sports. Sky Sports tend to be a couple of days behind everybody else, especially when it comes to player transfers. We'll have to wait and see on what happens on there. I would imagine the insurances are he'll start the season that right back and see how he goes from there. Brendan Aronson release clause. This is not news. It's really not news. People were reacting to this yesterday. Of course, he has a release clause. He was bought last season after Leeds had just narrowly avoided relegation, as have all the players that came into Leeds last season. Will all have release clauses. So it's not really news. However, Romano has reported that he is looking at exploring his options. Now, to be clear, that has come from his agent and not from the player himself. So before we aim the venom at the Aronson, this is agent talk. That's where this is coming from. So you would expect agents to do this. Moving on, let's talk about Sam Allardyce's future as Leeds United manager. And he's expected to sit down with Leeds this week to try and trash out what's happened at the club. The inquest into what has happened at Leeds United is well underway with the faceless, nameless statement that came out on Sunday, basically saying that plans are already in place to bounce back. Allardyce is interested in staying at Leeds United as the manager. However, he wants to see what the direction of the club is going to be, the ownership model, and funds to bring in players. As he has said himself, the squad isn't good enough or big enough. However, the Daily Mail are also reporting on this as well, and they are saying that Leeds are assessing their managerial options, and they know that an Allardyce appointment won't be popular with the fans, and they are looking at other options. Rodgers, Potter, Carrick, and Corberan are still names that are popping up on the list of people Leeds are interested in. I wouldn't say no to Michael Carrick or Brendan Rodgers. Moving on, let's talk about players that might be staying at Leeds. And again, we're going to get a lot of this over the next couple of weeks. So, let's just take everything with a pinch of salt and assume all of these are rumors until something happens. That way it avoids people giving out to me in the comments and me replying saying it's only a rumor. So we'll move on. We'll talk about that then. So Rasmus Christensen has told Tipsbladet that he is interested in staying on that Leeds. He kind of is and he kind of isn't. How he's phrased this is, they say that he has struggled in his first season in the Premier League at right back. However, he has done better while playing at centre back. Maybe that's a long-term position for him. But Christensen has had a couple of things to say on the situation, and this is what he's had to say. It's a new situation for Leeds, so first of all, we have to find out who will be here. If someone points to me, I'm ready. I have a long contract left. It may well be that this was not what I had imagined. We have to play in the championship next season. I intend to stand by the realities until I'm introduced to some new ones. That is probably the best answer that I can give. So basically saying he's happy to stay at Leeds unless better offers come in for the player, which is probably unlikely in England anyway. You might see a couple from Germany or Austria come in and look for the player as well, given the successes he's had in Austria. But it'd be an interesting one to say. We will need some experienced players around the place, and Christensen dropping to the championship, he probably do pretty well down there. Not saying he needs to stay on Leeds as a longer option, but it gives him another year to develop and get used to the English style of football, and that can happen. You look at Newcastle's players, likes of Joe Linton, not that they're comparable, but and Almiron as well, struggled for a little bit when they first came in, found their feet 2 or 3 years into it, so it can just be a thing like that. Speaking of players that may stay at Leeds and surprising ones, Dan James is expected to return to Leeds and may well stay at Leeds into next season. According to the Daily Mail, Dan James is set to rejoin Leeds, and they say on top of experienced players like Liam Cooper, Ayling and Forshaw, a strong youth backup of Gray, Gelhardt, Creswell and Greenwood, Dan James is also expected to stay along with that list. You will need a mixture here. I'm not saying Ayling, Cooper or Forshaw should be in a starting 11 for Leeds next season, but you'll want to have them in and around the squad, on the bench, in and around training, helping the younger players to tackle this next season. But Leeds will need to shift focus and focus more on these players that they brought in into the youth ranks to try and push Leeds back into the Premier League. It's now or never for these players, pretty much. Either they get into the Leeds side. We talked about this last night on Joe's show on the Final Word, and what I'd said about this was pretty straightforward. Leeds are looking at loaning Premier League players. If Leeds had stayed in the Premier League, we would be the club loaning these players to top half championship clubs, like Lewis Bate, like Sam Greenwood, like Dan James, like Archie Gray, like Joe Gelhardt, like Creswell, like Drame, like Hielda, all of them. We would likely be loaning them into top 6 clubs. Anyway, the fact that two or three of them were involved in the playoffs or are in and around the playoffs last season bodes well. But you'd want to put up a couple of experienced heads along with them just to make sure that they got that little bit to get over the humps. Have those players who've experienced the good times and the bad times in the championship and know what to expect. So there's that. Okay, last bit of news today. We're flying through this. I'll probably talk too quickly, and I'm sorry for that. I might try and slow it down in the edit. Let's talk about Leeds' interest in some incoming players. And the latest is that Leeds are interested in signing Bright Osayi Samuel. According to Turkish outlet A-Sport, Leeds are keeping track of Fenerbahce wingback Bright Osayi Samuel. You may remember the 25-year-old wingback now for making his name a QPR as a winger. He is now playing as a wingback, scored 1 goal this week. So it's going to be an interesting couple of days. This is changing rapidly. And as I said, by the time this video reaches you, the Sampdoria and Radrizzani situation may have changed. This is pretty early on Tuesday morning. So the situation will change. So I will timestamp this. Okay. Right. Thanks, folks. Have a great day. Go outside, enjoy the sunshine, and I'll see you tomorrow.